Now everything you say, Sebastian, will be used against you.
Exactly.
And I'll be taking notes.
Do I have to press continue here? Oh, yeah.
No, I think people are just going to fill into the room now. Good afternoon, everyone. We're just going to wait a few minutes before we get started. Going to allow people to enter the room from the waiting room, and then we will get started shortly. Give it another minute or two, and hopefully not longer than that, so we can stick to our scheduled timing. Okay, I think we'll get started now. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. For those who I haven't yet, my name is Jabina Aslam. I'm the Assistant Director of Recruitment and Admissions of Graduate Programs at the Faculty of Law. And I'm joined today by my colleague, Tali Golombek, who is the Assistant Director of the GPLLM program. We are also joined today by three of our fantastic alumni, whom I will introduce to you momentarily. We are absolutely delighted that you're able to join us today. And before we get started, I'd like to touch on a few housekeeping matters. So everyone will be muted and your videos are off. And we will be responding to questions throughout the event. So if you'd like to submit one, please do so via the Q&A feature on the navigation panel. At the end of the event, Tali and I will stay on the call to answer any questions that we weren't able to answer while the panelists are with us. And finally, we are recording today's event so that it can be available to those who weren't able to join us. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to the stars of the show, our alumni. Sebastian Beauchamp is an innovative healthcare executive with a multidisciplinary vision of governance and organizations. Currently, he is a vice president of government affairs at Dynacare. Over the years, Sebastian has developed a recognized expertise in leadership and healthcare management through various roles such as commercial operations, market access, pricing, government affairs, and health policy. He had the opportunity to work on very complex files such as multiple product launches, drugs and medical device reimbursement, M&A, pricing, development of healthcare-related policies, economic development, and manufacturing expansions. Through his tenure in various Fortune 500 companies, he developed a proven track record of leadership, team building, as well as effective direct interface with boards of directors, senior executives, policymakers, government officials, and other relevant decision makers and stakeholders. Sebastian serves on the board of directors of Samafo Endeavor Foundation, a mining company and gold producer. He is also involved in various causes related to the field of healthcare and wellness, and was also a select member to the 2015 edition of the prestigious Governor General's Canadian Leadership Conference, acting as co-chair. Thank you so much, Sebastian, for being with us today.
My pleasure. Great to be here.
Next, we have Michael Liebrock. Michael is the Managing Director, Investments and Asset Management at the Stronach Group. It's a private investment company which owns world-class gaming, technology, entertainment, and real estate development companies. Previously, Michael was a founder of a private merchant bank as well as a TSX listed asset manager, which he helped found at its IPO. He also worked as a management consultant with the Boston Consulting Group in Toronto, New York, and Sydney, and as a core member of the corporate development and organization practice areas. Working with leading clients and investors, where he led and managed mergers and business transformations, executing complex and bespoke deals, including a number of acquisition, divestiture, and carve-out transactions. Michael began his career helping develop and execute public policy agendas and campaigns for senior elected members of the Canadian federal government, as well as the government of Ontario. And before joining the GPLLM, Michael attended the University of Western and the Richard Ivey School of Business for his MBA. Thank you so much, Michael, for joining us.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
And finally, we have Vanessa Oliveira. Vanessa is a lawyer accredited in Brazil, where she practiced corporate law and M&A for over 8 years, having the opportunity to represent local and foreign clients in several game-changing mergers and acquisitions across multiple industries, with special focus in healthcare. With a strong legal background, Vanessa came to Canada in 2019 to attend the GPLLM program, focusing on innovation, law, and technology. And shortly after concluding the GPLLM, Vanessa focused on securing accreditation to practice law in Canada, and actually just passed the bar earlier this month. So congratulations, Vanessa.
Wow, well done. Awesome.
Currently, Vanessa works in legal affairs of Baylis Medical Company, a global leader and innovator in the making of medical devices. Vanessa is a proud GPLLM grad and devotes most of her non-billable hours to developing a strong community around foreign trained professionals based in Canada. Thank you so much, Sebastian, Michael, and Vanessa, for being with us today. We are honored to have you share with us your stories and your perspectives on the value of a legal education for our audience today.
Thank you for having us.
I'm going to hand it over to Tally, who will take us through some more information about the GPLLM program. So we're going to have an overview of the program, and then we're going to do the Q&A with our alum, and we'll let them continue with the rest of their busy work days. And Tally and I will stick around and talk to you about the admissions and application process and answer any questions on that afterwards. Over to you, Tally.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us today. I'm going to start the presentation with a talk about what is the GPLLM. The GPLLM is one of Canada's first executive Masters of Laws program, and it's one of the few executive graduate law degrees in North America. It's offered at the best law school in Canada and one of the top 10 globally, according to University Magazine. It was created to address the gap in executive education, as hearing from business leaders and non-lawyers, we heard about a desire to have a better understanding of the legal issues impacting them in their daily professional lives. The GPLLM was created because we believe that the study of law has something to offer everyone, including professionals who work with legal issues on a day in, day out basis. What is the value of a legal education? Why is the study of law so powerful? And why is it a valuable area of study for non-lawyers? As we all know, we're in a rapidly changing world, and most, if not all, business leaders are required to be conversant in legal issues, whether they relate to issues of changing technology, workforce demands, corporate governance, environmental regulation, or myriad other areas. These changes inevitably give rise to legal issues, and what the GPLLM is designed to do is to give students the legal fluency they require to make the best possible decisions in these rapidly changing environments. What the GPLLM offers. So how do we do this? By putting some of the very best legal minds in the country in a room with sophisticated professionals who are keen to learn, challenge their understanding, innovate, and move discussions forward. Our instruction in the classroom is academically and intellectually rigorous to engage with the content of the law and issues raised in practical ways, and also designed to provide the space for students to learn about the methodology of law, in essence, to learn to think like a lawyer. In terms of content, there's an opportunity to be exposed to numerous areas of the law and understand the legal framework and legal obligations within these areas. You can potentially take courses in contract law, cybersecurity, employment law, intellectual property law, the law of software, mergers and acquisitions, securities regulation, among many others. But the value of the legal education is not just in the substance, it is in the methodology of the law. The GPLLM guides students in how to think like a lawyer, which means learning to take a problem apart, isolate the key facts and issues on which a problem turns, and think the issue through with logic. At the end of the academic year, students have spent several hundred hours immersed in both the substance and the methodology of the law, and emerge equipped to apply a very different knowledge base and skill set to the work that they do. There is enhanced capacity to think critically and strategically about the law and legal issues with which they engage professionally. They think like lawyers, they work more seamlessly with legal counsel, they identify and manage risk, and develop numerous skill sets. The GPLM is going to provide an opportunity to be immersed with some of the best legal minds in the country and to learn alongside fantastic peers. If you were to join a GPLM classroom, and we hope that you do join us as guests, you'd find a dynamic, rich, engaging, intellectually rigorous classroom experience where real life and real-time legal issues are being addressed and discussed. So in 2021, 2022, there will be 3 concentrations on offer, each of which focuses on particular areas of interest and legal focus: business law, innovation law and technology, and Canadian law in a global context. Over the course of the program, students complete 10 courses, 5 of which must be from their concentration. There's only 1 required course, which is the mandatory Friday evening course in your concentration in the fall, but otherwise you're free to choose your courses. The emphasis on choice provides our students with the ability to curate a program of study that is responsive to their interests and needs while allowing them to work full-time. The program convenes on Friday evenings and all day Saturday on alternating weekends. Now, along who might you be studying? The class of 2021 was approximately, or is approximately 120 people strong. Of that total, 49 students are in ILT and business law, 43 of whom filled out our survey. They have about 15 years of work experience before coming to our program, and almost 80% of them are new to law. The majority, 65%, come to the GPLM with 1 graduate degree already under their belt. Our students work in numerous sectors, and this year a large portion came from the fields of tech, legal services, finance, consulting, along with other areas. And over the years, we've had the following types of students in our program. We've had many C-suite professionals, entrepreneurs, doctors, and other healthcare professionals, police officers, senior staff from university, lawyers, bankers, engineers, accountants, project managers, risk management specialists, and more. In terms of the structure of the program, it's taught by both U of T full-time faculty, including the Associate Dean of the graduate program. We have lots of adjunct faculty who are practicing lawyers at leading law firms or various levels of government. We have general counsel and members of the judiciary, and we sometimes have faculty from other Canadian law schools, and we have international visiting faculty as well. Courses in the business law and ILT concentrations are in the main based on lectures, group discussions, papers, and other assignments. There's no thesis, and while there's some group work, we're told it's not nearly as heavy on group work in the way some other graduate professional programs might be. This is just a sample of some of the courses that are on offer. You can see in business law and ILT, we've got cybersecurity, applied contract law, mergers and acquisitions, blockchain, competition law, intellectual property law, and certainly those courses are available on our website for you to explore in greater depth. The program is 11 months in length. It commences in September and concludes in August. The course offerings are spread over 3 semesters. The classes are held in the faculty state-of-the-art Jackman Law Building at Avenue Road in Bloor. We're very hopeful that we will be returning to in-person offerings this fall. We will continue to be in touch with applicants about course delivery as we have more clarity and confirmation. The classes are offered on Friday evenings and Saturdays, alternating weekends, in order to accommodate the schedules of busy professionals. Over the course of the year, students complete 10 courses, including one required course, depending on the concentration which students are enrolled, which is the Friday afternoon of the fall. And students also do one intensive course as well. And I think we're now heading into our Q&A.
Great, thank you so much, Tally. For anyone in the audience, if you had any questions about what Tally just shared with you, please do drop them in the chat and we will be able to answer them after the Q&A. So we'll get right into the Q&A with Sebastian, Michael, and Vanessa. My first question is for Sebastian. So there are a number of other executive programs out there that you could have chosen. Why did you choose to pursue a legal education at U of T?
Yeah, my story is the following. So I've been working for almost 25 years already in the healthcare sector, in pharmaceutical, medical device, and so on. And you know, as you mentioned earlier, I've done multiple different roles. And I get to a point where I feel like I want to go to the next level. I want to do not to do a better job necessarily, but I want to make sure that the impact that I got in my organization and even outside in the different speaking engagement also that I would have are very impactful. And for that, you really need to make sure you understand the big picture. And so as you could see on the screen there, you know, I come from a scientific undergrad background following with an MBA, which allowed me to understand the theoretical and practical aspect of business. But then there was a piece missing, in my opinion. There was something missing, especially in my role, where, you know, more and more we look at the business sector through a legal lens on many different aspects. And being in healthcare, but also in technology for healthcare, every time we need to bring something new to the market, there's a legal aspect that you need to consider. And so for me, this really was the piece that was missing. And in most of the organizations where I was working in the past and still now, you have one or two legal counsel that are extremely busy. So it's good for me to be able to understand the legal aspects of things and be able to make up my own mind, my own judgment around that. So U of T for me was a no-brainer because of its reputation, because also of how the program was structured. We're busy. For some of us, we're parents also. So it's quite difficult to find an education that's going to be able to, you know, to give us what we need in terms of learning, but also making sure it's going to work with everything else that we have in our busy life. So again, reputation of the organization and how the program is structured. What I really, really liked of this program, and it really worked well for me, is the ability, one, to choose your stream. For me, it was clearly innovation, law, and technology. But on top of this, it was to build your own curriculum. So it was not a program, and I don't have to tell you that, but for the folks on the Zoom call today, it was not a program that was, you know, formalized or already tailored. And, you know, it was make it your own. What is important for you? What are you looking for? And then you're able to pick and choose to some extent the courses that are making sense to you. So I was able to build my own curriculum. It's quite great.
Great. Thank you so much, Sebastian. I think that, you know, we'll get into a lot of that, what you said later on, how people can customize it. And I think that's a really critical point for many of our industry professionals. Michael, next question's for you. Can you tell us about how studying the law has allowed you to approach your work with the legal lens I think it's very clear to our audience, just looking at your bio, that a lot of what you do is intertwined with the law. But if you can tell us a little bit more about how you approach it now, and how that may have shifted since you've taken the program.
Yeah, certainly. And thank you for the question. I think, it's not clear in my bio, but I work with businesses across our portfolio that are some very highly regulated sectors with very significant compliance and oversight requirements. And that would be gaming and wagering here in the United States, real estate development, food production, and agriculture. And in each of those, it's important to understand the framework of the law, and it helps you better understand the risks in those businesses and how those risks can be changed with a legal framework. But also, as we consider growing and managing the portfolio, thinking about joint venture partners, further acquisitions, and other businesses we want to bring into our portfolio, the law is the framework by which all of those relationships are governed. If you think about, our business strategy drives and our commercial strategy drives all of our negotiations, but it's all against a legal backdrop. And it's really, so I think there's a part about managing the framework of the law, understanding the risk, and then separately, it's all the documents that define our relationships across all of the parties we deal with across all of the businesses. And those documents capture a huge array of commercial and strategic elements, which I've been always closer to. I think it's a mistake that some business people make to let lawyers drive a deal. I think you can, and all my lawyer friends will chide me for saying that, but I think as a business person, I think the better you are equipped to understand the law, the better you're equipped to consider all the elements of the law in your term sheets and frameworks, in your definitive documents. It helps you test and understand the ideas earlier in a negotiation if you understand it, maybe before lawyers would typically be involved. And understanding that is actually, I've seen, help to make a more frictionless and more fluid and fruitful negotiation with our partners. So not only does it help you, again, manage risks and balance those risks, the external kind of regulatory and legal frameworks that we have to deal with in each business, but also in frictionless negotiations and making more effective partnerships with each of our business partners.
Great, thank you so much, Michael. My next question is for Vanessa. Vanessa, well, all of you have pretty demanding professional lives. It's clear from learning a little bit about your backgrounds that you've got quite a bit on your plate. How were you able to negotiate the program on top of your existing commitments? And if Sebastian, Michael, if after Vanessa responds, if you have anything to add, it'd be great to hear from your perspectives as well. And this is a top question that we often get from many of our prospective students is, when they're negotiating whether or not they can take on the program. So Vanessa, tell us how you did it.
Thank you for the question, Jabin. Yeah, so my scenario, I was working 2 jobs for the better part of GPLLM, phasing out my responsibilities in Brazil, in the law firm in Brazil, and taking on a new job here in Canada. On top of that, all the academics from the GPLLM. So first of all, the ability to get organized is crucial here. This is a marathon. So what I did specifically was I did a schedule based on the calendar of the GPLLM. And what I really like about this program, and was crucial to me deciding to join the GPLLM, is the fact that we have specific blocks of availability on. You need to be available for GPLLM on Fridays and Saturdays. So the GPLLM schedule will not be dynamic throughout the week, right? So that really, really helps. And to that, I really negotiated with the law firm and clients that I would not be available on such and such Fridays and Saturdays every other week. I think that is a huge benefit joining the GPLLM as compared to other programs I researched. And on top of that, you also have all the assignments and readings. And what I did is commit to very little, but every day. So I would try to study every day, not to come to a place that you cannot catch up, right? So in my case, really getting organized, it's absolutely doable, but you have to put the GPLLM schedule in front of you, work around that, and negotiate, say a few no's, but it's definitely doable.
Thank you. Michael or Sebastian, do you have any thing to add to that? Anything that you did to help you manage?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it seems daunting, I think, because you think everyone's got busy professional and personal lives. How can you fit in a master's program? Especially, you know, U of T is known globally for its excellence in law. And so if you're considering a master's program in law at a school like U of T, you might find it daunting. I think scheduling was really important. I was upfront with my team at work about what I was going to do. I think I loved the schedule, frankly, of having some weekend intensives and Wednesday nights, I think it was. I'm going to forget exactly the pattern, but I found it super manageable because it sort of had I think every 2 weeks there was a bit of a break, and then we had some evening courses, and it was perfectly manageable to get around. I do think it is important to think that, you know, when Essa highlighted the reading, I wasn't as disciplined as Vanessa at reading every day. So I did find that sometimes I had big blocks of reading to do, but that's actually a skill you need to learn to do as well, which is, you know, I hadn't been a student for at least 10 years since I did my MBA. You forget a little bit how to study, and you get back on top of that and learn to process great volumes of material pretty quickly. And I think that's a great skill to take away from the program. So I think, you know, all in all, even though it may seem like a lot to balance, people do much more complicated things than an LLM, and that should never be a reason not to do it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll build on the comments from my colleagues here. For me, what really made the difference, you know, of course, you make the decision to enroll and to go for it, and you go full, you know, full steam. But it was also the quality of the teaching that made it such a great program. So the schedule is manageable. That's one thing. But I'll tell you, once you're in the classroom with the quality of the colleagues, also of the faculty, you forget that it's a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon and the family is biking or whatever they're doing, because you're captured basically by the quality of the discussions, the teaching. Everything else is just doesn't matter anymore. So it's not something that you can do. It's a commitment, let's be clear, but it's something that's very manageable. But if you're there for the right reason, you'll just jump in with both feet, and the reward is absolutely great.
Yeah, we do hear that from many of our students, is that when they're in the room that Saturday, 8:30 to 6:30, they're just really immersed, and it's hard to sometimes think about what's happening around outside of those classroom doors. Thank you for that, Sebastian. While I have you, I have another question for you. Having studied the law and obviously being convinced of its value, do you look for similar knowledge or breadth of exposure when you're hiring for certain positions?
Yeah, that's a good question. So this is a fairly new program, right? It's not like, for example, like if I can compare that to an MBA, it was been around for a long time. So I am looking for a similar type of exposure and knowledge, especially in my area where we, again, it's a really it's very regulated. We deal with government, we deal with contracts, with negotiations, and so on. So it is extremely useful to have someone who is, a non-lawyer, but with some kind of background or understanding. It's making my life easier, quite frankly. It's making sure also that we can move much faster. And you know what? From an expenditure perspective, also as a business, if we have the talent inside, we don't have to go outside for consultants all the time or anything like that. So it's great. I would say, are there enough people right now with this skill set out there? Probably not. I think this program is making its impact. And, as time goes by, there will be more and more people with a similar education. But I think, for me, I think it's the new MBA. That's really how I qualify this. It's the new MBA. Not that my MBA did not have value, by far, not at all. That's not what I'm saying. it was absolutely great. But in terms of the edge that it's giving me, I think it was this program. So I wish there were more people out there with this similar skill set. That would be great.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you so much. Michael, as a business leader, have you seen any shifts over the past 10 years in the importance of legal expertise for business leaders? Have you seen that in your industry?
That's a good question. I mean, there's a whole thematic there about the growth of and the growing importance of law as society becomes more complicated and more laws have to govern the evolving world in front of us. If you think even just about cryptocurrency, I was just looking about an hour or two ago about some of the stuff going on in crypto, and the laws got to catch up to that. So that means a whole new set of laws, both from how it's taxed, how it's managed, how it's regulated. So thematically, you just have to think the world's getting more complicated. There's more and more laws to create frameworks around these new innovative technologies, which are phenomenal in improving people's lives. So 100% yes. And even more so, you know, if I think about the businesses that I mentioned earlier, so for me in our portfolio, it's real estate. That would be like zoning and entitlements and all the laws around how you create value in real estate. And in gaming, anti-money laundering, or the rules around sports wagering in the US and how that's evolving, and the frameworks in every state as it evolves. It's like a whole new world of legal considerations. And on top of that, just to create value, think about legal, there's tax, which is again a framework of law. Tax, and every year tax laws get more and more complicated. They change all the time. You have to be able to stay on top of them, understand the implications on your business and value and where you deploy capital. So without a view for law, even if uninformed, so let's say I hadn't done this program, you need to understand the evolving framework of law to create value in business. And you can do that without taking a program or a legal program for sure, but it just gives you more perspective on that. So as things are getting more complicated, you know, my thesis is, or my perspective thematically is that there's more and more law. We need to be informed about it. We need to understand it if we're going to create value. You know, a legal education or exposure to law gives you the tools to better understand it and a framework to be able to create value in a more complicated and complex environment. So I think, you know, you asked in the last 10 years, it's been in the last 10 years, the law has become more complicated. You need to better understand the law, and that's not going to change. Lawmakers go to work every day thinking about new laws to create. You know, Parliament in Canada sits, or Congress, and they're creating tax laws, they're creating laws to govern everything that we do. And if you don't have a handle on that or ability to navigate it properly, I think you're at a deficit or a disadvantage.
Great. Thank you so much for that insight, Michael. Vanessa, are there specific skills that you developed in the program that you might not have been as comfortable flexing before pursuing the degree?
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of should have known better. Mm-hmm. But I think I'm privileged to land in the GPLLM with some legal background, although in civil law and now transitioning to common law, there is a certain way you're taught and the way you think, which is what they call think like a lawyer. All that comes very easily to me, but I was never allowed to even think about questioning why is that the law is the way it is. So questioning the framework. Of course, we do have all these laws, and it's easier to me to comprehend, understand tax laws, corporate laws, and transition that to the contracts I usually have to negotiate. But in the GPLLM, having non-lawyers with me in class, in this particular class in tech and innovation, people would question the framework of the law, and I never was exposed to that. So that was all very new to me, and combining with the ability to understand the legal framework the way it is, it was very beneficial to have both, right? You understand the law, but the law could be better. This could be done differently. And if we cannot do that if we don't expand beyond, right? So this program allows you that because it invites people that are usually not invited to the legal discourse, right? So to me, that was the highlight of my experience in terms of skills. And of course, from a academic point of view, joining the GPLLM, and I said I would do my readings constantly, it just made my path to be accredited as a lawyer in Canada way easier because I just capitalized on that and study for the bar real quick and fast. So it really helped getting, back to this chair, reading, up to the point to actually pass the bar. So very, very good.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. And Sebastian, for you, how has studying the law informed the work that you do and your ability, as Vanessa mentioned, to think critically about legal issues and specifically engaged by technological change?
Yeah. So just before this, the call started, we were just informally talking about, one thing that's positive that this pandemic has brought is the need to innovate. It's the need to bring new technologies to market, and this is something we're seeing right now. It's booming, at least in my line of work. We're seeing many different new technologies around testing, around digital health, and so on. So it's good to be able to identify the opportunities that are worth our time, that are really needed also in the marketplace, and that are going to fill a gap out there. Some technologies are just a me too. Other technologies are actually brand new and groundbreaking technologies which are going to impact a lot of people positively. So it's very easy to get excited about bringing these technologies to market, but being able to take a step back and look at all the implications of bringing these technologies to market. What are the potential roadblocks from a regulatory standpoint, from a legal standpoint? What do we need to know? So again, from a technology standpoint, and from a legal standpoint as well, bringing those two together are essential. We as an organization can decide to launch a new product or technology through an M&A or through our own R&D facilities. But again, if we have not made an assessment that is compelling, that is robust and strong, our investment will just basically go down the drain. It won't bring any value to the marketplace or to the organization. So I think this is critical for me. And again, just to echo what one of my colleagues said earlier, to be able to look at these new technology through a legal lens early in the process is critical. It should be considered as a cost of entry moving forward to launching any new technologies. And I include healthcare, but also other types of technologies. It's critical for the future. Otherwise, we'll invest in a fashion that's not going to be very wise. And for those out there who are working for a company that's registered on the stock market, for example, is a stakeholder's money that you're dealing with on a daily basis, right? So you want to invest wisely and generate some return. So that's critical.
Thank you for that reflection, Sebastian. I think it's really insightful for many of the people who are in the audience today. Michael, having studied the law now, do you feel more confident about providing advice and guidance to the senior leaders with whom you work?
No doubt, like throughout my career in business, through both the upside scenarios and also through some of the most challenging experiences I've had in my professional life, all of that informs the choices that you make and the decisions you have to take and the advice and the way you govern yourself with your colleagues and your peers. And I'm not a practicing lawyer, not at all, but I work with some of the smartest lawyers in the country, and I rely on their advice to help inform our decisions and make sure we chart the best path forward. And so I think that having studied law or having some form of formal legal education has made me feel more confident, because even though I'm not going to be the legal professional on the file ever, well, as I said, we'll always have some great lawyers working with us. You know better the arrows in your quiver. You know the tools you have a little bit better. You know what's coming up in terms of, you know, I spoke earlier about document production and all of that. So just knowing that helps you be and feel more prepared and give a more holistic perspective when you're making decisions.
Mhm.
I'm actually reminded, as I'm speaking right now, Donald Rumsfeld. For those of you, I'm a big public policy buff, and if you don't remember him, he was in George W. Bush's cabinet. He was defense secretary, and he gave a quote which everyone maligned, but it was something about, I'm not going to get it right, about unknown unknowns and the known unknowns. And he was more concerned about the unknown unknowns at the time. And I have to say that, you know, a legal education at least helps you identify the known unknowns a little bit better so that there's less unknown unknowns. If that concept made sense. Now, Rumsfeld got, you know, lambasted for that quote, but I think conceptually you understand that the more you understand and know, it helps you identify the things that you don't know. So that kind of preparation, additional capability, it just gives you more confidence in making business decisions, I think. And that's why I think what I've appreciated from the legal education or the law, the formal legal education, I guess I have now.
That's a great quote. We might use that.
Unknown unknowns. Be careful trying to use it, because I can't even say it. I mean, I just know conceptually what it is. And he stumbled over at a press conference. He was talking about the known unknowns and the unknown unknowns, and it's kind of a complicated idea. But the concept is that there's these things you understand that you don't know, which is a lot better to know that you don't know them and know where they are, versus an oblivion of unknown unknowns that could just be risks you never understand or don't see and then don't prepare for.
Right, right. And it's that preparation that I think is critical, and a lot of our students it resonates with them as they, you know, are in class on Friday night and then immediately on Monday are able to kind of reflect on what they've learned and put it into practice, things that they, as you said, were just unaware of.
Yeah.
That's really insightful. Vanessa, final question to you. Was it instructive to, and I think you touched on this a little bit, but if you could elaborate, was it instructive to have the opportunity to learn alongside lawyers and non-lawyers, professionals from a number of different sectors? If you can kind of share a little bit about it, and you're in the unique position in that you are a lawyer, but you took a concentration that was probably 99% people who were not lawyers and people who were new to the law. Could you share a little bit about what that was like for you?
Before you answer, you have to disclose that we studied together and I was a non-lawyer, so I'll be listening very carefully.
Yeah, you're right. So I took the unconventional road, right? So internationally trained lawyers would rather choose the Canadian common law stream, where all the lawyers are seeking accreditation. And I did the opposite, right? I joined innovation and technology because the way I thought was, well, I already know about the law. I can always read about the common law, but I will never get the perspective of my clients if I keep joining the law crew. So that was my reasoning, joining the innovation and technology. So when I get there, it was myself and another lawyer, a Canadian lawyer in my class, and everyone else, non-lawyers. And the better part of my GPLLM experience was actually learning from them, learning from business-oriented people that were, could be my clients in the future. So I learned the way they think, how they value business, the way they think about risks, the way they decide based on that. So as a lawyer, it was super beneficial to me. And of course, I also joined part of the classes in the Canadian common law, and it's completely different, right? Everyone really focus on what is the law, what do we have to know to land a correct legal advice. But again, you're not preoccupied on going beyond what your client actually is talking about. And I can give one example. During the GPLLM, we were in cybersecurity class, and during that period, a lot of cyber incidents were like going on. And then the professor, Imran, would come to the class saying, oh, this just happened. I have to deal with this. I have to deal with that. And my colleagues would give perspectives from their business. Hey, this is also going on with us. And I think that Michael really, with knowing the unknown or less unknowns, it is really the reality, right? Cybersecurity. We don't really understand what could go wrong, but knowing a little bit more every day will get us all better prepared. For me, as a lawyer, but really the ability to understand the client is crucial, right? And that is what it really justified the GPLLM to me, especially in innovation and technology. And I would not have done it differently as a lawyer. I would not have joined the other stream because there's just a few minds there that you really, really need to learn from. And I'm grateful for it.
Oh, thank you so much, Vanessa. Before we let you go back to your busy schedules, any final words of wisdom for those in our audience who are contemplating an application for this fall? If we want to start with Michael, Sebastian, and Vanessa, any final words of wisdom?
You know, it was an alumni who gave me this piece of advice, and so I'll pass it along. There's absolutely no downside and only upside. And if you're even considering it, you might as well do it because you walk away a whole lot richer, and you'll make no better investment in your life than education.
Thank you.
Well said. Just what I'm going to add to this is if you want to invest time wisely, we're all busy, we all make choices, but this program was able, in my case at least, to bring me reward very quickly after every weekend, quite frankly. But this is not a very long program. For the, you know, in terms of the ROI, it's very difficult to find that in the marketplace right now. This type of quality, high quality education over a period of you know, a year. So in terms of the impact and the return, it's really unbeatable. It's absolutely great. So I do encourage you to do the program, and will be available also at some point if you guys have any question outside of this call.
Yes, and I second all of that. And I'm the living reality, right? So I came from a completely different background, country, everything different. And after less than 1 year of GPLLM, I feel immersed, I feel prepared to join legal discussions in the Canadian common law. That's not natural. People look at me and say, how could you? You're here a year and a half in Canada. That's not even possible. It is. Again, you have to commit, you have to dedicate, but the resources are there. Your colleagues, very bright, sharp, business-oriented people and good lawyers, and the faculty, and all the resources you get from U of T. So again, no downside, no brainer to me. If you're thinking about joining, just join. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vanessa, Sebastian, and Michael. Again, thank you for being here, taking the time out, and really sharing truly insightful thoughts on the program and the connection that you've made with the law. Thank you so much. If anyone in the audience, as Sebastian mentioned, if you have any specific questions, we'd be happy to pass them on. But for now, we will let you get on with your busy days. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Being here.
Good luck,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you, everyone.
To see you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Great. So for those of you who are still with us, we do have another portion of the presentation where we'll walk you through the admissions and application process. If you haven't already started your application, now's a great time to do so because we've got a couple of months before we close. So what we need in an application, we need a bachelor's degree in any discipline with a minimum of a B standing. We ask for the innovation law and the business law concentrations. We ask for a minimum of 5 years of relevant progressive professional work experience. So the documents you need include your academic transcripts, so your bachelor's as well as any master's degrees you've done, your resume, and 2 letters of reference, and of course a personal statement. We do have very specific guidelines on reference letters and the personal statement on our website under the admissions tab. We have questions that you should share with your referees, as well as questions that you should answer when writing your personal statement. So please take a look at those recommendations on the website and connect with your referees sooner than later so that they have time to write a strong letter for you. In terms of the application process, we are now in round 4. So our application deadline is August 6th. You still have time if you're interested in applying for fall 2021. Connect with us if you have any questions about this. Again, the way you apply is online via the School of Graduate Studies application system. The link is on our admissions page. If you scroll down to the very bottom of the admissions page, you will see the link to apply. At this time of year, it can take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to get a decision. So the sooner you apply, the better. Classes start early September. We start with an orientation and a course on legal methods, which would be critical for many of you who don't have a legal background. So I encourage you to apply sooner than later. Again, it's a very straightforward application. If you have a strong profile, I encourage you to put your application forward. For the application fees, it's $125. And then the tuition is $35,000 for domestic students and about $67,000 for international. The fee schedule is updated every July. You can go onto our website under fees and you'll see the updated fee schedule there. We require a $500 deposit and that goes towards your tuition. And the balance is due in 2 installments, first in late August and then the second in late November. So what are your next steps? Your next steps are to, if you haven't already, schedule a phone chat with a member of our admissions team. You can do so via our website. Start to collect your application materials, connect with your referees, share those questions with them so that they can easily write a strong reference letter for you. Do schedule to visit a class. So while you're collecting your materials, you can sit in on a class, a live class, and be a fly on the wall and just get a sense for what the program is like. All of those classes are listed on our website under events. If you've already had it scheduled a chat with a member of our admissions team, you can just simply email us at admissions.gpllm@utoronto.ca and let us know what class you'd like to sit on, and we'd be happy to register you. Do follow us on social media. You'll get to hear from our faculty, our students, our alumni. You'll stay on top of the events and the workshops that we're offering this summer, and just be a part of our community. And again, our final application is August 6th, so please do apply before that date. And that's it for now. As I mentioned, Tally and I will stick around. If you have any questions, just put them in the Q&A box below, and we'd be happy to answer them for you. Otherwise, that's my contact information on the screen. You can also email admissions.gpllm@utoronto.ca. and a member of our admissions team would be happy to assist you. All right, great. So it sounds like we've answered all of your questions in the chat already, so we won't be answering any live. Thank you again for joining us, and definitely stay in touch. We will connect with you soon. Have a great day.